Good morning, students. Now we are continuing our chapter tissue. In our previous video we will study about meristematic tissue. Now we are continuing our plant tissues. The second part of plant tissue is permanent tissue. There are two types of tissues of plant. Means plant tissues have two types. One is meristematic tissue and second one is permanent tissue. About meristematic tissue we will study in our previous video. Now we are going to study about permanent tissue. So the word permanent, why the permanent word is given here, permanent tissue. What is meristematic tissue? Why we give the name meristematic? Because they are continuously dividing cells. That's why we will give the name meristematic tissue. Here the permanent tissues we use. Why? Because now this is a tissue in which the cells are present, right? They are continuously dividing each other, right? But some cells, they have, when it reach some division, so they will lose, they will say, now I didn't want to differentiate, didn't want to divide, so they will stop the cell division and they will get their permanent shapes. Means they doesn't change their shapes, it gets their permanent shapes and they doesn't divide after that time. So that's why that type of cells is called permanent cell, and that type of tissue that is made with a permanent cell, that is called a permanent tissue. So we will start these topics now. These are 6 points in which we will see the functions, the structure, the differentiation and the properties of permanent tissue. So cell lose the ability to divide. I told you now, the permanent tissue is made up of permanent cell, and the permanent cell, what is permanent cell? They will lose their ability to divide. Means they will stop and say, now I didn't want to divide their cells, and that type of cells is called permanent cells, and with that permanent cells make a permanent tissue. So the first property is they will lose the ability to divide and it will get a particular shape and size, take up a specific role, so it will be permanent. So whatever the functions and role we will given once time, so it will, the whole life it will do a same function. Means the specific role it will functions. Thus are permanent, and they are permanent, they will never changed. Okay, it will be dead, so it will be replaced by same type of permanent tissue. The differentiation, process of taking up permanent shape, size and functions. Mean when they will lose their ability to divide, they will get their permanent shape, size and functions. Means they will do the same functions when they will dead, there it will be replaced by the permanent new tissue, same tissue. So when they will alive, it will do the same functions at their whole life. Structure. What was the structure of permanent tissue? Large central vacuoles are present. In meristematic tissue we will study. In meristematic tissue we will study that the vacuoles are absent. What is vacuole? Where storage, where the plants store their food. So in meristematic they are absent, but in permanent tissue the large vacuoles are present. Cell wall is thin, and the cell wall is thin as well as thick, both. It will depends where it is present. And the function, what was the function of permanent tissue? It will protect, support and storage and photosynthesis. These all are the functions of permanent tissues. They are doing these all functions and throughout whole life. So Here it was a plant tissue in which it is meristematic tissue. When some meristematic tissues will do cell differentiation, and after some time some meristematic tissues will stop to do a cell division, then they will change from meristematic tissue to permanent tissue. Means at the starting all the cells are meristematic tissue, but after some time when some cells are stopped doing cell division, it will convert into permanent tissue. And permanent tissue will be divided in two types. One is simple permanent tissue, PT means permanent tissue here, and some is complex permanent tissue. Matlab means the permanent tissue will be divided in two types. Then simple permanent tissue have three types, and complex permanent tissue have two types. They also have subparts. So this is the process of plant tissue. There are two types of plant tissue, meristematic tissue, and by the cell differentiation it will make permanent tissue. So you will understand what was the structure and function of permanent tissue. Now we are going to study about simple permanent tissue, parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. Okay, now see here. Now permanent tissue are two types, simple and complex. And first we will study about simple tissue, simple permanent tissue. So simple permanent tissue. What are simple permanent tissue? The cells are structurally and functionally similar. They are called simple permanent tissue. Means in simple permanent tissue all the cells are similar and they do a similar function. Means only one type of cells are present in a simple permanent tissue. Okay, it have only simple work. They do a simple and specific work. That's why it is called a simple permanent tissue. Why? Because only one type of cells are present and they do same, they look similar in structurally and they do similar functions. So it is called a simple permanent tissue. Simple permanent tissues are three types. What is that? Parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. Now we are start our first type. What is parenchyma? Parenchyma tissue. So first, where it is found means where it was found on a stem, roots, leaves, flowers and fruits. So all these places parenchyma tissues are be found. And the cell structure of parenchyma tissue is they have thin cell wall. Means the cell wall of parenchyma tissue is very thin. They have different structures. It depends on where it was found. Where it was found on a stem, root, leaves, flower, fruits. Where it was be found, on that it will depend what was the structure, what was the shape of the parenchyma tissue. It will be round, polygonal or elongated in shapes. It means it have different shapes. It was all depends on where it was founding. Intercellular space are present. In meristematic tissue, intercellular space are absent, and we will better know what is intercellular space. So if you didn't know where it was, what is intercellular space, you will see here. In previous video we already studied about what is intercellular space. You will see once again. Now these are the tissues in which cells are found. So the region between the cells, the empty region, the space between the cells are found, that is called intercellular space. In meristematic tissue, this space are absent. In permanent tissues and in simple permanent tissue, in parenchyma tissue, intercellular space are present. So understand what is intercellular space. The region, the empty space region, the empty region between the cell is called intercellular space, and in permanent in parenchyma tissue intercellular space are present, and the functions of parenchyma tissue is food storage tissue, means in which vacuoles are present. So vacuoles, why vacuoles are present? To store the food. So it have a similar function and it have a large work, and there are so many and long term work is happening, so it needs energy, so it have food storage, and food storage tissue is a function of parenchyma tissue. In some cases they have two types, means the function from parenchyma tissue is performing, they have two types. One is chlorenchyma and second one is parenchyma. And what is chloroschema and parenchyma? Some parenchyma tissues have chlorophyll present in them, and in parenchyma tissue in which chlorophyll is present, so they make their own food, and that type of in that cases it will call us by us chlorenchyma. And when loosely packed intercellular space are present are called parenchyma. I give you one example, then you will understand what is parenchyma. If you will see that lotus and water lily, they are continuously floating in a water. If water is very deep, then also it will floating on a water. Why? Because in some cell, in some tissue, thus in the cells they have so much intercellular space is present, so it will provide us buoyancy, it will provide us ability to float on a water. So that type of in that cases we will call them parenchyma. Okay, parenchyma provide buoyancy to parts and helps them to float. Why? Because they have so much intercellular space is present that will provide us buoyancy, so it will helps to float on a dense water also. So this is our first type of simple parenchyma tissue, permanent tissue, and in our next video we will study about chlorenchyma and sclerenchyma. So thank you.